Hey, and welcome back to another video. So as you can see here on the table, today is definitely one of the most special videos that I have recently done. We have here an iPod Touch 7th generation, which if you already know and you've been following the news, is the last iPod to ever be released. Yes, on May 10th, Apple did discontinue the iPod forever and it's no longer producing any more iPods. After a run of a bit over 20 years, starting on October 23rd, 2001, right until May 10th, 2022, iPods in different forms and sizes and form factors have been manufactured, but on May 10th, Apple decided to axe the iPod entirely and stop production of the last model, which is the iPod Touch 7th generation, as you see here. And in this video, we'll be unboxing this iPod, which is really special for me because it is the last iPod that I will ever unbox. If I do get a boxed iPod after this, I'm probably just gonna keep it in its box as sort of a display piece. And this iPod is gonna be the very last iPod that I ever actually unbox and use. So this is definitely a special video for me at least, but I don't know how it'll go for you guys. However, I am gonna definitely enjoy this iPod as I have been actually waiting to get my hands on a 7th generation, but I didn't really have the urge to get one as there are a lot of them lying around and I thought I'll get one later. But when I heard the news that Apple is canceling the iPod, I just had to get one as the last iPod ever released. And I'm gonna take this out of its box and use it for a few weeks and see how it's like using an iPod Touch here in 2022 right after it has been cancelled. And of course, I'll make a video on that and give you my thoughts, so definitely stay tuned for that video. This particular iPod is a 32 gig one, so it was $199. And a lot of people have asked me, how'd you get this thing engraved? Because this thing is actually engraved with a custom engraving that you'll see in a bit. And after doing some research online and asking a few people, I kind of got one of my theories backed up when people said that there's a chance that Apple has a separate lot of iPods being kept for engraving, because it wouldn't make sense if Apple canceled the iPod and was no longer producing any of them. How would they have the ability to custom engrave one if all the boxes are sealed? I had the theory that maybe Apple has iPods separately just for engraving purposes, and a lot of people on r/iPod also confirmed that by saying that that's highly the chance likely what's going on. Apple separately has kept some iPods for engraving, and this is one of those iPods. After engraving, they put them in their box and they seal it and ship it out. And this is one of the last iPods ever built, and I bought this on May 10th itself, right after I heard the news. I've been putting this video off for a few days because I had COVID, but now it's finally time to unbox this iPod and start using it. But as usual, before jumping right into this video, don't forget to smash that like button down below as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about the iPod Touch 7th generation. Are you getting your hands on one? Have you already considered buying one? Are you gonna just wait a bit and probably get a used one in the future? Or whatever you want me to know down in the comment section below. Just let me know what you think about also the cancellation of the iPod. You think the iPod will ever come back, or anything you want me to know, just leave a comment down below and we can have a discussion. Also, don't forget to check out my social media, which is linked down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. And now let's jump right into unboxing this iPod Touch 7th generation here in 2022 after it has been cancelled. So as you can see, the box is wrapped in plastic as usual with all of Apple's iPod Touches in the past as well. First, let's get rid of the plastic and let's see what the box looks like inside. But I'm pretty sure you already know all the iPods had, all the iPod Touches especially had the same kind of box since they were released. So let's go ahead and open this up. As you can see, the iPod Touch box in all its glory. Over here it says iPod Touch. At the bottom it has some information such as the storage and the model number, etc, etc. And on this side it also says iPod Touch. The top, again, an Apple logo. Moving on to the back, we have some information with the earpods and the lightning cables, etc, etc, as well as the storage. This one is a 32 gig model. And of course, at the front, we have the iPod itself with a sticker pasted on the inside, which we'll remove in a bit. This has also been a staple of iPod Touches for many years, this way of presenting it. And yeah, that's just basically what the box is like. And now let's go ahead and open the box itself. So we have a pull tab for the plastic cover of the box here. Let's go ahead and pull that open. Let's open the box itself. So up top we're greeted with the iPod itself, but let's leave this to a side for now and see what else is in the box. So designed by Apple in California, that is another staple of the unboxing experience. That was something they always had at the top there, the Designed by Apple in California logo. And then another more recognizable thing, the leaflet. This thing has changed over time as to comply with different regulations and stuff, because it used to be a pull-out folder back in the day, but now it's a bit different. It's a bunch of cards. So we have 2 Apple stickers over there. We have some information about charging and battery health and exposure to radio frequencies and stuff over there. And we have a quick sort of setup guide, if you may, but it basically tells you to go to Apple's website for more information. Earlier it was that open out thing that Apple used to put in there, but because of regulations they had to cut down on the paper amount that is in the box. So that is for documentation. Let's see what else is in the box. So we have some earpods over there, Apple standard earpods in this sort of foam case-like thing. Nothing new there, just standard earpods. And we have the lightning charging cable as well. So yeah, that's basically all that's in the box. So let's go ahead and put that to a side here and go back to the star of the show. And here we have the iPod Touch itself. So now you may be wondering, why did I get it in space gray? That's the most basic, boring color. It's because in the past I always got iPods in the black color, even after the 4th generation when it came out in a white color as well. I always got it in the black color, so I thought for the final iPod Touch that I buy, I will stick with the color that I have always bought it. So let's go ahead and take this thing off. So there's a flap over here to lift up that sticker. And then you kind of pull down on that and it releases the iPod. So as you can see, the iPod Touch 7th generation itself. So now let's bring it closer and have a closer look at the engraving I did on this thing. I have pasted a sticker here so that it covers the serial number. As you can see up here, 10/23, 10/23/2001 to 5/10/2022, which is October 23rd, 2001 to May 10th, 2022, the running years of the iPod from when it was released to when it ended. 20 years of fun. I never really have got my iPods engraved, so this is kind of a new thing. Actually, this is probably the first or second iPod that I've ever engraved. I cannot remember. I may have engraved another iPod for my personal use. Now, I do have a lot of iPods, but a lot of these are things that I bought secondhand. But the iPods that I used personally after buying them new myself, I don't think I have ever engraved one. I've engraved a lot of other things, but not an iPod. I may be wrong. I just cannot confirm. I've just owned so many iPods over the years. It's hard to keep track of all of them. But as you can see, that is the final engraving that I will do on any iPod. So yeah, it's kind of special. So I thought I'll just go with the running years of the iPod from when it was released to when it was finally cancelled. So now let's go ahead and turn this thing on. I've already got my greasy fingerprints on it, but that's okay. Let's power this thing on. I'm pretty sure it's running iOS 15. I'll go ahead and set this thing up, of course, and I'll be right back. And here it is, the iPod Touch 7th generation running iOS 15.4.1. That is the OS that has been installed on this. There is a newer update which I'll do later, but as you can see, is running iOS 15 just fine. Now, the specs of this thing I'll put over here. I'm not going to read over all of them. It's got iOS 15, the Apple A10 Fusion processor, the M10 Motion Coprocessor, basically all the same specs, similar specs to the iPhone 7 is what's on this thing, but the processor has been toned down a little bit because they didn't want to give this the same processing power as an iPhone 7. It would not need that much power. The iPhone 7 needs that extra power for something, so the processor is slightly underclocked, I believe, but those are the specs of this thing. I'm not going to read over all of those. So firstly, let's have a quick go around of the device itself. Now up front, we have the single front-facing camera over there for video calling and taking selfies. At the bottom here, we have the single home button, the old style home button, of course without a fingerprint scanner. The iPod Touch sadly never got a fingerprint scanner. Moving on to the bottom of the device, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack over here. We have the lightning port in the center there, and we have a single bottom firing mono speaker there as well. Towards the right of the phone, we don't have anything on the right side over there, as you can see. Moving on to the top, we have the lock button / power button. Onto the left side, we have the volume up and down buttons over there, and nothing else. And finally, at the back of the device, we have the engraving that I did there, as I've already shown you. We have the cutout for the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi antenna over there, an older design that can be covered up, but they have decided to still keep it. Nevertheless, we have the camera over here with a bit of a bump, the microphone, and the rear-facing flash as well. We have some iPod branding over here with the Apple logo, and down over here we have designed by Apple in California, assembled in China, and of course the serial number, which I have covered up. So yeah, that's just a quick go around of the device itself. But of course, this video would not be complete without bringing the original iPod out, the iPod Classic first generation, and putting it side by side, the final iPod ever released. Now, it would have been nice for this one to have engraving at the back, but it doesn't. I think engraving only came out after the second generation was released. This second gen over here does have engraving, as you can see. Forever a tree you shine. No, forever a tree to your shine. My other one has some other engraving as well, but I didn't pull that one out. But the first generation, I haven't seen a first generation with engraving, but I could be wrong. It could be just this one does not have engraving. But still, it's nice to see how far we've come in the last 20 years. This thing works, but I haven't charged it yet, so the battery is dead. It surprisingly still holds a charge quite long, but I haven't used it in a while, so the battery is dead. But as you can see, the first ever iPod and the last ever iPod. It's kind of nice to see how far we've come in the last 20 years in terms of technology. However, there are people that still argue that the iPod Touch is not a true iPod because it's essentially a phone without the calling feature. And a lot of people say the last true iPod was the iPod Nano 7th generation, the touchscreen, the one with the single button. I think that's the Nano 7th generation. A lot of people say that was the last true iPod, but hey, I think the Touch was also a important part of the iPod lineup. So definitely the iPod Touch 7th generation is truly the last iPod ever released. If not for the iPod Touch, the iPod lineup could have failed a bit earlier as well, because eventually iPod Touches were some of the most best-selling iPods, because kids who couldn't get their hands on iPhones would get their hands on the iPod Touch at the cheaper price, or if they were not allowed to have a phone yet, the iPod Touch was clearly a really good option. So the iPod Touch definitely holds a place in the iPod lineup, even though some people disagree if it was a last true iPod or it's the iPod Nano 7th generation. Nevertheless, it's nice to see how far we've come in the last 20 years. So what we're going to do next with this thing is I'm going to slap a case on this thing and I'm going to use it for a few days and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. So let's go ahead and slap a case on this thing. So we have a pretty standard case off eBay here. Let's go ahead and take it out. It comes with a screen protector, so that's good. Let's go ahead and install this thing. As you can see, it's got the cutout for the 5th generation. They kind of got lazy and left the cutout, but hey, it's mass production, so if anyone wants a 5th generation case, there you go. And they didn't have to deal with cutting extra holes on a separate one, so they just made all of them with some holes. Alright, so as you can see, the iPod is good to go. It has its screen protector and a case on, and all that needs to happen now is I can use this for a few weeks and see how it goes. Initially, the screen protector kind of gave me some trouble there because the cutouts, I kind of forgot to take them out, but I did eventually get them out, and as you can see, there are there are 2 tiny bubbles up there. But overall, nothing major, and it is good to go. So I'll use this for about 2 weeks roughly, see how it's like using the iPod Touch 7th generation after it has been cancelled here in 2021. Install apps like Twitch and then Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Studio. Try and manage some of my YouTube comments from this and also my Instagram. Probably take some photos using the camera. Try and use it to its full potential. Basically the same way I used my iPod Touch 4th generation back in 2010, because that's the iPod Touch that I most heavily depended on. Actually the iPod that I most heavily depended on back in the day, because my 5th generation, I really didn't use it that much. I kind of used it for a few months and put it to a side. My 2nd and 3rd generation, I remember I didn't have a 3rd gen, sorry. My 2nd gen, I used it for also on and off with my phone at the time, but I really didn't put too much work into it. It's my 4th generation that I actually worked out, basically made it work a lot by loading it with all my stuff and games and everything like that. That thing, I used it to the ground. Eventually its battery cut out. Maybe I'll feature it on the channel someday. I don't have it with me right now. It's back home at my mom's house, but it still works and it's still good to go. So I'm gonna try and replicate that. I'm gonna try and use this to its fullest and see what it's like. Try and use it the best that I can, and try and not forget about it, because I do have a lot of phones, so it's kind of hard when I'm trying to focus on one device, but then I kind of forget that it exists because I have so many things to deal with on a daily basis, so many phones, so many iPads, etc, etc. But I will try and focus on using this here in 2022 and see what it's like. So yeah, as a conclusion, this was the final unboxing of an iPod you'll ever see on this channel, and this was the last iPod I will ever unbox. It's kind of sad to see it go, but we all saw the end of the iPod coming. It was inevitable. It was just a matter of time. From around 2014-15-ish, from when it started going downhill in terms of sales. We all saw it coming. It finally did come on May the 10th, 2022. A good 20-year run, the longest device Apple has ever continued from a point to point, finally being cancelled after 20 years. This was the last iPod I'll ever unbox, because all the other iPods, if I do get in the future, that are still in their box will remain in their box as showpieces. So this is the very last one that I'll unbox and actually put some time into using, because though I own a lot of iPods, I really don't use them. But this one is definitely getting some hours out of, I'll definitely get some hours out of this thing. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for the using the iPod Touch 7th generation in 2022 video by hitting the subscribe button down below. And if you honestly like this video, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up on the like button, as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm. Hit that subscribe button, ring that bell notification button, and also leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about the iPod Touch 7th generation, or anything you want me to know about the device. If you own one, if you are thinking of getting one in the future, just leave a comment down below and we can have a discussion. Also, don't forget to check out my social media, which is linked down in the description below. Thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.